Should have taken a look at your profile already.
I know you're good. So my buddies and I were preparing to run Petite Le Mans this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing it in the LMP2. But other than that, I've been practicing at Silverstone. I have a league race tomorrow night there, um,
Okay, what league?
in R8. It's called RATC. It's like races around the. I'm not sure. It's like races around like the continent or something. I forget exactly what it is. Um, but it's a GT3 league. And I had me and three others for my team register for it. So we have two Red Rocket Racing teams in there. Um,
Cool.
but both people on the other team aren't really participating a lot, so it's kind of annoying. But my buddy and I we've been every race so far.
Hey,
So
okay, okay.
so we're trying to finish out good. The last race was the first one I finished because of mistakes I made in the first round, and then second round just getting punted off.
Mm.
But other than that, since the last time we've met, I was doing a lot of. I love Spa, and so whenever a series is at Spa, I just run that series. So I was doing the 911 GTE at Spa,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then just been running Silverstone GT3 practice, trying to curate a setup for that, and then also just doing uh, LMP2 and GT3 at Road Atlanta. Um, so that's one of
Okay.
the tracks that I enjoy, but I usually have some problems with just because it's just T2 and into the S's. That crest always gets me.
Yeah, T3 is one of the most difficult complexes you're gonna run into in racing, really.
Yeah, and
Uh,
also the exit like of the S's going wide on that massive curb.
mm-hmm.
I last night last night I recorded a race to send in, uh, and I think I'm not gonna send it in because my roommate came in halfway through and stuff. It's just kind of loud with audio, but um, but I was qualified P2, and then I was P3 with the first like 4 laps, and then I went onto that curve. And usually I found if you just gun it and keep the wheel straight, you can kind of survive it. But I didn't survive it on the fifth lap and went all the way.
Oh,
And I was able to continue, but I had like a second of straight line front end damage, so I brought it home eighth. But I only lost like 8 I rating, so it's not too bad. My safe rating went down the toilet, but oh well.
what
I tried to
happened? Like you said you tried to gun it at a turn 5 to hold on to it. What
Yeah.
was different about this time that stopped you from saving it? Did you hit the bump differently, maybe?
I think I had like a little bit more of like a lateral slide in it that
Uh-huh.
I hadn't like fully caught the car yet. I was kind of like just letting it slide wide rather than like catching it and then driving it wide almost, I guess. Um,
Mm. Hmm.
so the tires were I guess were already kind of past like except for talking about like last time like past their maximum slip angle, um, and we're just sliding at that point, rather than driving forward.
Sure.
Um, and I think just in the heat of the moment, I was like, I'm just gonna gun it and go for it. And it didn't work. So, but I tell you what, like the thing that could apply the car, like the thing that we talked about last time, like rotating on entry with the brakes, I like with the Porsche GTE, um, it already wants to do it a lot for me, at least in the setups I typically run, and I was able to really use that in the Spa 6 hour. Um,
Awesome.
it made like a noticeable difference. Because my teammate and I, like, we were running about the same pace. He was actually like 2 tenths quicker than me usually a lap, but over the race, my average lap time was like 3 tenths faster than his. So I was able to like pull some pace out there.
Sweet. So you actually like netted half a second from that?
Yeah,
That's insane.
well, the thing is like it was like a huge problem area for me I love Spa, but I'm not good at it. I'll straight up admit I'm not good at it. And yeah, in like the Lacombe area at the end of the Kimmel Straight, like once I get the car rotate, I can get the car rotated into the first right-hander pretty good. But after that, I've always struggled like switching the car back and forth on the next complex,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
next few turns. Um, let me start that. Okay, cool. Um, and let me try my music. It's crazy loud. Holy crap. There we go. But with the brake, like using that kind of technique, I was able to kind of like switch the rear end around a little bit easier. Um, so yeah, it was really useful. And also like I'm still scared to like rotate the back too much on entry to like high speed stuff, just
Sure.
because it's like, like if you get it right, it's really fast and it's awesome. But if you get it wrong a little bit, like a little too much, it's just around.
Yeah,
Uh,
very quickly.
and
Especially if you overcommit that,
yeah,
and you start getting the rear sliding out. Usually that comes hand in hand with going a little bit too fast into the corner.
yeah,
So yeah, you,
true.
you try and save that. Okay, now you saved it, but you're way offline. Got
Yeah,
problems.
yeah, exactly. Like for me, it was um, like Puan, just like that massive downhill left-hander, and like I got it a few like when I was on like fresh tires and high fuel with the weight being in the front from that fuel tank, like it hooked up so nice the first few times, and then like as the stint went on, and I wore the tires down like because we double stint tires, and it's like in like the
Hmm.
second set of tires, I do it a few times, and the was like no, and I'm like okay, like let me back off a bit.
Did
Um,
you try playing with brake bias at all?
yeah, I started them with the brake bias a little bit further back, um, because I've always noticed like in a straight line, I just kept like it would lock the fronts first,
Mm.
um, and so I move it back a little bit, but also like now since then I focus more on brake bias, not just in a straight line, but like how it actually rotates the car more. Um, and like I've used that in the past a little bit, but like I didn't realize how big of a difference it made, um, until we kind of messed with it last session. Um, so yeah, it was. I moved it back a little bit, and also another thing to note, that at least that I noted is, so my buddy and I, what we typically like to do for the league races, like if we don't have a setup already, we'll hop into like one of the practice sessions for the league, and then we'll each create our own setup. Like we'll go our own direction with our setups, and then we can like compare the two and like
Sure.
try and make a blend of the best, rather than like just going off one and saying like, hey, this is better for you, even though you're a different driver, that kind of stuff. Um, and my setup, um, was a lot more. It was like I loved the way it felt, and I was able to get like some sub 2 minutes. I was the fastest in my class in the practice section, um, and I gave it to my buddy. I was like, "Hey, try this. It's really fast. It feels fantastic." And he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is way too oversteer on corner entry for me." Um,
Hmm.
so it was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Like high speed stuff felt good because I'm running 10 wings since it's Silverstone. Um, but on low speed stuff, he was like, it rotates like way too much. He's like, I just like, I can't like consistently drive it. Um, but for me, I found like it was, it was nice because like just in some of the slow speed stuff with Silverstone, like it was just nice to like be able to rotate it really well. I could just get on throttle earlier, like out of the corner and just set up for those long straights.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal. What would happen when you pushed a little harder on corner entries though? Like, were you finding the car prone to over rotating? Like, was
So
it?
for me, I had the issue where it would over rotate if I pushed it too hard. And then I changed the setup a bit and I lowered the diff preload, a little bit, and it seemed to help the issue. Where like now, like if I push it too hard, that's the thing for me though. Was like I wasn't noticing any oversteer issues. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't over rotating for me, and if I pushed it too hard, it just kind of felt like a GT3 car and kind of slugged through, like just kind of mushed off to the side. Um, so like I wasn't really having many issues, with that, but he was. Um, so like for me, after I lowered that
Sure.
diff preload, it made it kind of like push more and like not want to like the back didn't want to rotate as much. That was the
Did you
key for
change
me.
anything else along with the diff preload?
Um, I would say I do this all separately, so that way I don't like change a whole bunch of stuff at once and I go out because then you have no idea. But like,
Hmm.
um, so I started actually with a twin ring Motegi setup from Majors, um, because I knew it's a high downforce track, and the high downforce preset from iRacing, um, I just couldn't get a good. The rear was like crazy unstable at high speeds. For me, like that one had too much rotation for me at high speed. Um, and so then I used the twin Motegi setup to see like what it would feel like, and it was it didn't over rotate as much for me, um, but it's still the back end wanted to come out on like low speed stuff, like add it like putting the throttle on and everything, and also like
Sure.
some high speed entries like third gear entries. Um, and so what I did first was um, I basically kept everything the same. All I did was I lowered the rear ride height a little bit, like 3 or 4 clicks, um, and that seemed to help a little bit, especially on like stability into like oh, I always forget the name, like the S's at Silverstone. Um, it seemed
Maggots
to
and
help me.
Beckett's.
Yeah, Maggots
Hmm.
and Beckett. It seemed to help me a lot through there. But then it was
Sure.
still the low speed stuff. The car felt like it wanted to push, and then when I got on throttle, it wanted to just the back end wanted to come out really easily. Um,
Okay.
and I messed with TC and ABS a little bit, but it still seemed like it wanted to do it. And then so I lowered the diff preload like 3 clicks, and it helped me a lot on that. Um,
That sounds super reasonable.
so
Okay.
it
Cool.
wasn't like yeah, like it wasn't. I didn't change a lot on the setup. It was just the rear ride height and diff preload. I debated messing with the rear roll bar, but the thing is like I've noticed on every Audi setup I've ever run since the new tires have come out, especially even before the new tires came out, it was all the same rear roll bar setting. It was all the softest setting. Like everything from majors, from like Craig setup shop, from
Hmm.
everything, even like iRacing stuff. It was like it was all the same. Um, it was all the same rear sway bar. So I decided not to mess with it
Yeah. Yeah.
much.
I would agree with that. Uh, I haven't felt it in the Audi specifically, just because I haven't run that car a ton.
Yeah.
But I remember, like for example, back in 2019, the BMW GTE, you would never want to run any bar on the rear.
Oh yeah. I loved that car when it came out. Like
Yeah.
I love that thing. I
Yeah.
still like it. Even though it's like a boat, I still love it.
Yeah.
I, lo- I have a buddy who's like a diehard fan for the M8 on a guy on our team, and he always runs it, so I always run it with him because it's fun. It
Sure.
used to be crazy fast, but it's been bopped a lot since then.
All right. Well, for today, I guess you're gonna tell me you're the most comfortable on the R8 at Silverstone, huh?
Probably. I mean, I did probably about 40 laps there. So still more to learn, but yeah. I mean
Okay.
that the prototype's too far off of a GT car to even run. It's a whole different world. So
Yeah. Well, I actually worked with Jesse, who's our teammate, my other student for Project Alien.
yeah.
Um, I worked with him in the P2 at Spa yesterday, and
Oh
we were
man,
able to
I
get a
love it.
lot out of it, but we were working on some different stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, the Audis, and also something else I've been doing recently, especially since we've met last, is I've always typically run like pretty high TC and ABS settings. Because I'm like, oh, it's more assistance, so it's better, but it's just not the case at all. Um, and so
mm,
I've started to run a lot lower TC. Like I used to run like 8, and now I'm running on like a dry track with fresh tires. Like I'm running like 2. Um, and then ABS, since iRacing's completely redone the ABS for all these cars, um, I've been finding a lower setting is like feels a lot better to me. I still run it pretty high. I still run it like 8 or 9, but I used to run it at like max, like 11. Um,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, I used to run it at max, and like that's what it came on some of the setups was like at max, and then ABS would be or TC would be at like 9 or like 8, and so like I just never really messed with it. I didn't realize how much it could change the car, but that was the other key for me in getting that rotation on low speed stuff was like lowering that TC so that way I could even like get the slip angle in there because I realized like with that high TC setting
Yep.
you like can't even set a slip angle, and that was one thing I noticed in the Porsche because like the Porsche, it's probably because I'm driving it incorrectly to be honest, but with the GTE, it always felt like you'd put the throttle down, and the TC would just light up. But once it got set in there, it would just hold a slip angle all the way through the corner, like perfectly. And I messed, with like my lines and like trying to stay off of TC and raising the T setting, lower the TC setting and everything. But it just felt like it was fastest to like kind of sit on TC and like some of like the second gear exit corners. It would even hit TC flat out in sixth gear at Blanchimont, which was,
Really?
yeah, like it would flash the TC light like one like pop.
No
Um,
kidding.
and it was crazy. It was super weird. Like I'm not sure what it was, with the setup. I mean, I was competitive, doing that. So I mean, it could just be because I'm in lower split stuff, but like it was quick. And I'm not sure if I'm just driving it incorrectly, but it was crazy. It was really good
Yeah.
practice with slip angle because like I could get out there like it was. Well, it's actually not good practice because I'm relying on the TC the whole time to set
Yeah.
up, but it helped me like kind of get the sight picture for like what it should look like, and then what it kind of felt like in the steering. Um, and I've been messing with that. I put on the Grand Prix setup or Grand Prix layout on Lime Rock for the past like I don't know like 20 minutes or whatever. Just did like I did like 15 laps or whatever around it just to get warmed up. And on like the low speed entry to the chicane, I could kind of feel it more, like the like rotating the car into braking more. Um,
Great.
yeah, so
So what you just described is exactly why I don't like working with like GT3, GTEs, any car with assists really.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, it makes total sense, like because you just kind of rely on it.
yeah, and even at your level, like you're feeling some of like too much TC, too much ABS. You're feeling the symptoms of that, but I'm still, I can't be certain if you're feeling exactly where the line is or if you're over relying on it. And
Yeah,
of course, you can't either. You've already said as much. You recognize you're not sure if that's
yeah,
you relying on it too much or if that's the way it's supposed to be. And I wouldn't be able to tell that either in general. I could drive it obviously and
yeah.
feel it out, but
And like
that
of
doesn't
course like
really.
the real car, of course they don't do that. Like what I've seen from onboards and stuff, like so like I don't know if it's just like one of the things like it is in the sim or like I'm not sure. I mean it was a major setup and it felt great. It felt fantastic. It was just I don't know, it was on TC a lot. It was interesting.
Yeah. Well, okay. Damn,
So I
I,
mean,
I really don't like these options very much.
well,
Uh,
if you want to run like the 992 at Lime Rock again, I'm down. If you want to run the 992 at Silverstone or something, it just that's the thing. Is just it might take me time to get used to it.
yeah.
I'm down to run the 992 at like I don't know Road Atlanta or something, and I've raced that. Well, I mean I've raced the track quite a bit, just not in this car. Um, I don't know. I just haven't done a lot in this car yet in general. Um, oh, I did practice the track for this week in the series. If you want to do that one,
The Nordschleife?
I'm messing.
Oh no.
I was about.
Oh
I
no.
I haven't practiced it at all, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna say that to him when I'm in there because yeah, that's my buddy and I. Like every once in a while, we'll get bored and we'll just put a hosted up on that and just try and learn it. Because like that's like I've done like a Spa 24 hour, I've done Daytona 24 hour, I've done Le Mans 24 hour. It's like now I want to end myself and I want to do the Nordschleife. Like I feel like that's like the next rite of passage. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I get on there and I try to learn it, but I haven't. I've got like the first like I don't know kind of half the track down, but it's like the middle section that just completely screws me. But yeah, no, that was a weird one.
Well, all right. Uh, I mean, I don't have to totally change how you're driving every session, so let's run the R8.
Okay.
Let's run the R8 around Silverstone. Just see how that's going. Um, maybe you'll be able to highlight some inefficiencies.
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll find stuff that I mean, I'm certain we'll find stuff that applies to every car.
Okay.
Some of it will be maybe a little obfuscated by um, ABS and TC, but we'll try to limit that.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll.
Oh yeah, that sounds good to me. Um, yeah, I've been doing a lot of practice in the 9 too, just because I've. Oh, sorry, that was hella loud.
All good.
Yeah, my mic boom is like a $10 mic boom from Amazon. So I've had this mic for forever, and I finally got an XLR cable in today, so I can like run it to my preamp and like not off a USB. So
Oh,
I can hear
nice.
myself talk. So it's nice because I got Sennheisers and I got like a preamp, and I was like, oh, now like I need to get this cable for my mic so I can like hear myself and not have my
Do you
mic sound.
actually prefer it that way?
Yeah, a little bit. Like with the setup I have with the preamp, like I have the gain pretty down. Like so myself, like I don't hear myself very loud. I can just kind of start to hear myself when I'm talking too loud. So that way I know not to like yell into the mic.
Sure.
Because I'll have a problem with that when I'm playing like Apex or Call of Duty or something. but um, but yeah, so I don't like hear myself all the time, just like a little bit at the time when I'm being too loud. So I mean that's kind of nice. But I also wanted something that would clear up a USB on my PC. Um,
Mm,
a lot of USBs, and if I just run an XLR to this, and it's just one USB in the back of the computer for everything.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so it's nice because I got a webcam now, and then I got this like little green screen thing to use, and like it's great. The problem is my lighting here is really bad. So I ordered a ring light, just like a cheap ring light that was like in one of the in the green from the green room chat,
Sure.
and so it'll be here later this week. And I got the green screen like pretty set up and good, so that way like my roommate when he walks behind me and stuff doesn't show up. Um, but it's just because there's not enough light, it gets like real splotchy and blotty.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully this ring light will help it a little bit. It's not the best thing. Um, but also because I have a VR rig, like I don't have anything in front of my rig. My rig's next to my desk, and then everything else is off to the side because I ran everything in VR. I don't have like a monitor stand yet or anything, so like, which is annoying because like I just started in 2021 with my buddy, um, and I can't do it now because it doesn't run VR. So
Yeah.
it's kind of annoying, but I've
Yeah.
run for a long time, so I just run like ACC um and iRacing really only, so it works out pretty good.
Yeah. I really hate that Codemasters won't add VR support. I mean, I would even like the crappy VR support that Dirt Rally has. I could live with that for F1.
Yeah,
Um,
same. Like
it
Dirt
just it's
Rally, yeah,
crazy because back in 2019, like I wanted to try out F1 esports. I wanted to see if I could get the hang of that. But
yeah,
no VR. 2020, no VR.
yeah.
This year I upgraded to triples, but I'm also a little more focused on improving in iRacing and
Yeah,
coaching in general. So
yeah. Yeah, I have two buddies here with triples. One of them just has them like mounted on like a desk mount, and then he has this like place under his desk. One of my other buddies here, who's on the team, he has like a full on like 80/20 formula rig under
nice.
his bed in his dorm, and then triples mounted to that under his bed in his dorm.
That's
Uh,
insane.
so it's crazy. The rig is awesome. He has a DD1 and Huskenvelds. I mean his stuff is nice. Um, and then I recently found out that one of the test drivers for the WeatherTech Porsche and IMSA goes to my school.
Oh,
um,
that's sick.
so I'm gonna try and get him on the team because he's like, yeah, he's like, Porsche sent me all this like Fanatec stuff to use during COVID, so might as well put it to use. I was like, yeah, might as well, dude.
Yeah, no kidding.
DD and like V3s. He's like, yeah, I just haven't really used it. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you gotta get on the team or something. I need some of your expertise.
Yeah. Uh, wow, that's pretty cool actually. How do you run into them?
I don't know. So like I worked at this. There's an indoor karting place like right next to my school,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I would always work there with my buddy last semester when I still had free time. And I don't know. We get like all the guys from our school to come in who like raced karts, who raced on like our Formula SAE team, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they came in, they were like, "Who's the fastest guy here?" And my buddy and I, who have the like number 1 and 2 lap times like set on the track, we'd raise our hands, and they'd be like, "All right, we're gonna race them." So we'd clock out, and we'd race them, and then we'd beat them, and they'd be like, "What the hell?" Like all this, I'm like, "My cart's slow," and like all this kind of stuff.
Typical.
Yeah, and then we just like hang out, and I'd add him on Snapchat or whatever, and just kind of meet him through there, and then we'd all group together to go to like the Rolex 24, or any other IMSA races here. NASCAR stuff is kind of cool to watch, but I don't know. I really don't go to any NASCAR stuff except like the Daytona 500 here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you live right next to the track, you might as well.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a big race like that, might as well go. But I wanted to go to the Coke 400, but it was happening like the weekend I moved in, so it was kind of hectic. Yeah, it was crazy. One morning I woke up from a call from NASCAR, and they were like, "You go to Embry-Riddle?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like hella confused. I thought it was like a scam or something. Like, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is NASCAR from like Virginia." We're like, "We saw that you started like a sim racing club for your school and thought that it's cool, and we want to like work with you on that." And I was like, "What?"
Dude.
So like they're trying to like they're giving us like good prices for tickets and stuff to anything at the Speedway.
No way.
They're like letting us sell tickets through our team to the Rolex, and then like we can like keep part of it, like the fundraiser for the team, which is nice because
No way.
no funding. But yeah, it was crazy random. I just met the most random people from working at that karting place. Like one of the guys who I used to work with, he's like top of marshalling at IMSA and like goes to all the races and is giving us like free pit passes and stuff, and like he got me a poster signed. Or he's trying to get me a poster signed at the next race at VIR, because I want to get a Magnussen poster signed because that would be awesome.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just crazy. And like we're just like friends and hang out and like go flying and stuff. I'll take him to dinner.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's just random people that go to this school. Yeah, it's weird, and like none of them are majoring in like because we have a major here for like mechanical engineering and high performance vehicles. But everyone who like comes here and is like race car stuff is no one's like really majoring in that. It's like all pilots who come here, and it's like, oh, we also like fast cars. And it's like, okay, cool. So it's just been great being at the Speedway to like be around people.
Yeah.
I came down here for people like who like flying, and like that was awesome, and that was enough for me. And now it's like, oh yeah, everyone's also into like exactly what you like to do. I'm like, oh, sick.
Yeah, it seems like the personality types for like flying and driving race cars have a lot of overlap. The actual engineering side of racing, maybe not as much.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that side here. I just haven't like mingled with that side.
Yeah, well, it's not as like almost anybody who's into flying is kind of into racing,
Oh yeah,
and vice versa.
yeah,
At least thinks it's cool, right?
yeah, it's kind of like the same vibe, like
Mm-hmm.
flying planes around and then driving fast car.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got a session up here.
Is it Baby Alien?
Yep.
Cool. Sorry if I sound weird. I'm kind of up at my desk right now, joining, and then I'll hop back in the rig.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're a little quiet, but
Yeah,
that is
it's
just fine.
it's the one downside of I used to have like a little wireless keyboard that was perfect and then broke.
Ah.
So I gotta order. It was like $20 for Amazon, so I didn't really expect anything less.
Still, you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, it lasted me a good year.
That's nothing.
I mean, for $20, it's not. I wouldn't say it's too bad.
Uh.
It is probably the crappiest keyboard I've ever bought in my life. Like, I got it, and it was like, oh, it has RGB lights. I was like, okay, cool, so I can like see in the dark. I got it. And there's a
That's
button
where
on
the entire $20 went, or like
Oh, yeah.
$19.78.
And it's hilarious because there's literally a button on the keyboard. It's like a light button, and you press the button to change the colors, and it literally changes between red, green, blue, and that's it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got scammed.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was it. It was pretty funny. I laughed. It was worth $20. And
Sure.
then after it broke, I had it as like a, like if I get mad in Call of Duty or something, I can just like throw it.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Or get
Perfect.
camped out in Spa 6 hour by some idiot who in P6 whose wheel quote unquote didn't work.
Hmm. Hey, that shit happens though. That happened to Max Verstappen in
Yeah.
one of the big like BMW
Max
120s.
Verstappen at Silverstone in the real F1 race.
Oh man, I am not plugged in.
Oh, really? Dude. Oh, you
I
gotta watch that.
remember the Silverstone from Lewis taking Max out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, yeah.
Lewis's wheel just kind of stopped working. He just went straight a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or Valtteri's brakes not working at the Hungaroring. And just going on. Yeah. And it's always funny. And this last F1 race was crazy.
Dude, I
I
didn't
love,
watch it because it was Russia, but
dude, the last you gotta like go back and like watch like the race highlights are actually pretty good.
okay.
Uh, the race itself was honestly filmed kind of bad. Like there was like a lot of it was a lot of they just like didn't show battles and stuff, which is kind of annoying.
Mm.
But the last 5 laps were just hectic. Like no one knew what to do. It was crazy.
Ooh, yeah, those are the best.
And like watching Lando just like hunt for his first win and then watching him lose it was just like
Crushing. Yeah.
yeah. But it was also crazy to see Max go from last to P2.
Well, that's just what Max does.
Oh
He's
yeah, I mean he's
guy's insane.
yeah. I really hope he wins the championship this year. I really hope he does. I really hope Red Bull also has a competitive 2022 car.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I didn't get a great impression of Max. Okay, I'm not gonna get into this while we're recording. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'll tell you more about it later on.
yeah. I mean, I I hope less for one team having a really good car and for all the teams to have close cars next year. So that way we can see some better racing going on.
Yeah. Well,
And, like,
good
hopefully-
luck with that. I hope so too, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a money thing like everything else is.
yeah. Hopefully cost caps will help. But hey, let's use our time here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do me a
Just
favor, shoot me over that setup,
yeah.
and yeah, we'll get on track. See what's going on. Ah, sorry to make you get up.
Oh no, you're good. I don't have to get up like once I'm kind of like in the session. I just have my mouse next to me and I can send it.
Ah, perfect.
I was just leaning forward real quick.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, my fastest time I set with like, so they have a half fuel limit, and it's a 75-minute race, so it's a mandatory 2-stop. So it's only 15.9 gallons, and I set my fastest lap when I was on 10 gallons of gas. Just lighter a little bit. But,
Sure.
Um,
Wow, stiff springs.
yeah, this was so I didn't change any of that. This is all like other than like the rear ride height and the diff preload, which are like the rear ride height's like 3 or 4 clicks lower, and the diff preload's like 3 or 4 clicks lower. It's the twin ring Motegi setup.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
it's
No, I mean, last time I ran GT3s was actually the setup I had loaded up was from 2020 season 3.
oh
So,
man. Just a heads up, the tire, like, I don't know if you looked at the tire model. I guess it's the same tire model as the 992 now. They are really cold the first lap. The second
Yeah.
lap on the track, they are an absolute flyer. It is ridiculous. They feel so good the second lap, and then they fall off. But
okay.
it is, like, at least like coming from the old tire model, like this one's like it's so noticeable. It's like crazy to me. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's get out there and feel it out.
Yeah.
I'll follow you.
Okay.
Is the force feedback kind of strong on this car?
Yeah, a little bit. I have to lower the strength down. I adjust the
Yeah.
strength through the car. I'm just I would kind of let the auto do it. But yeah, definitely compared to the 992, it's definitely stronger.
Copy.
This was the one I always messed up, and I would like spin on sometimes.
Yeah, the car's loose going in there.
It does get loose in that one. I don't know if it's, and you know, I'm not good enough to tell if it's the car or if it's just the if it's the caress going in there.
I think it's probably reasonable to expect it to be. Well, the crest going in there is relatively small.
Really small, yeah. I didn't expect it the first time I did it. I just got kind of used to it, so.
Sure. Yeah, we'll drive around it for now, but that's definitely something we're going to want to address.
Okay. So I like driving like F3 on this track, or like high downforce cars, because it just they like really stick. I always made that turn. I always like that turn because it just like you just turn it on and just catch. I've been messing with different lines, so they were like going out wide in the beginning and cutting back in.
You said you have been messing with them?
Yeah, I've just been messing with different kinds of exits.
Okay. What have you found? Anything you like and don't like?
I like kind of going wider on entry and then like taking a lot later apex out of there.
Okay.
Sorry, that just kind of pushes. There's more speed in it.
Whoa!
No.
All right, super quick. Let's make some changes and then head back out.
Okay, yeah.
So, are you ever getting the car loose on throttle?
Very rarely on throttle.
And I would guess most of the time you get loose on throttle, it's like the slide's already kind of started by mid corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like if I have that slip angle like set on the brakes, and then like just the throttle kind of kicks it around.
Okay, so right now, just what I'm feeling,
Yeah.
and I'm just coming at this like I want to get this setup more stable so we can really focus on driving.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna, surface
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
I'm feeling that the car's over rotating on entry. Like, I feel like I'm having to baby the car around instead of, the ideal feeling is like we can push the car reasonably hard into the entry. If we go too far over the limit, then weird things will start happening. Like that's good. We don't want it to cover for us. But
Yeah.
right now it feels like I'm not able to use the fronts enough before the rears want to
Okay.
start stepping out.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Yeah. I can definitely feel what you're talking about.
So I'm gonna go back on that diff change, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, you said when you're making the adjustments,
Yeah.
you felt like you were uh, too loose in general, so you lower the rear. I like that. Um, what were you feeling that caused you to? You're feeling a push on entry.
Yeah. I was feeling a push on entry, and then like as soon as I got on the throttle, it would just like felt like it stepped out a little bit too much,
Okay.
um, or just too much like I don't know, just how I was feeling it.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
yeah, I just lowered that diff a little bit, and it seemed to help with it. But I kind of feel like lowering that's honestly like a quick patch. It doesn't actually really solve the issue. It might could
Uh,
solve like better with other things, but I'm not really sure.
yes, and I mean it's a little complicated. And another reason I hate coaching on this car is with setup like when diff adjustments are involved. Yeah, you can sometimes it's diff,
Yeah,
sometimes it's a combination of other things.
yeah,
But for something simple like balance between throttle and brake behavior,
yeah.
I don't mind a small change to the diff. But what I'm going to do here, so
Okay.
instead of fully reverting to 175, since what I'm feeling is the opposite of what you described, I'm not going to go all the way back. I'll go back to 170.
170 on on the ride height.
On no diff preload.
Okay. Wait.
I'm running
Oh,
metric.
okay. I was like, mine does not go to 170. Okay. All right. All right. Noted. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, road racing, like especially at the high level, I'm mostly working with Europeans, so I've
Yeah,
had
it
to just go
makes
over
sense.
to the metric side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Metric system's just way better anyway. So
Yeah. Uh, okay. Let's try that. Oh, yeah. Something else I wanted to mention earlier, and I'm reminded of it now. Um, you mentioned wanting to make a change and then dropping 4 clicks, changing 3 clicks. 4 clicks, 3 clicks is usually a pretty big change.
okay.
Uh, Often, like, unless you know you want a really big change,
Yeah.
like, I would go two at a time maximum on most
Right.
adjustments.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So
Yeah, and it's hard to know until you really start to get a feel for setups.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just rule of thumb.
Okay.
Let's try again.
All right.
Nice little burnout. I like it.
Yeah. The TC cut button for faster cut stops.
Hold on a sec, actually. Let me turn my engine volume down. I turned it up for rallycross earlier.
Uh, yeah. Also, since you last minute, I turned my engine down a little bit more. It's kind of in the Porsche. It was crazy loud too.
So where do you have it now? Like, do you have the engine pretty quiet?
Engine's like -6, -7. Um,
Ooh.
and then I mean it's still loud to me in my ears. It's just like now I can like really like pretty clearly hear the tires. Um, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's like unrealistic, like being in the car. I don't know. I've also never been in an Audi R8 race car, so
Yeah, well, the thing is, racing slicks don't make a lot of noise. So I think realism, like full on realism, is not being able to hear the tires, but full on
yeah,
realism is also feeling the
they can,
tires instead of
yeah,
hearing them. So
yeah,
with the
absolutely,
sim, hearing the tires is like our version of butt feel.
yeah, okay,
I would Let's try something. Try
okay,
turning the engine volume all the way down, or at least down to like -15.
okay. Let's see. Come on, hop out of the car. There it goes.
And just so you know, I actually run mine at -20 all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's just it gives me more clear information.
Oh, it's nice on the ears. Oh, whoa, yeah, it's crazy. Even just like hearing tires come out of the pit lane. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like I can like feel us like I felt the car push there. But you could like I could like hear it. It's like the front's like
Yeah.
okay.
So, we had a really good conversation about how to keep balance of the car, how to approach the limit efficiently, all that the other day. But having the tire sound down, I think is a really good tool for you to actually like you get such good oral feedback.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, this is great. Yeah, this
yeah.
is, yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel the change, like coming onto the straight right there with that full throttle bit.
Okay. So you're able to get it loose on throttle now?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially in the higher speed stuff like that. And like Maggots and Beckett's, the rear was a lot more happy.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm still feeling it pretty loose on entry as well, but that could be just me not being used to the car yet.
That's kind of, I don't know. That's how that Audi's always. It's always been like kind of have to drive like on the nose, I guess. What I've noticed relative to other GT3s. Like a really loose way. This is a terrible like comparison, but I drive this car kind of like I drive the P2. Because to me, the B2's rear has always been pretty unstable.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, it depends on the track, honestly. Like to me, I love the P2 around like Atlanta, Monza, because you actually have like a pretty high downforce setup in Monza relatively to what you think it would be, and then like
Yeah.
but like Daytona, I could never get the rears to hook it. Like I'm like. I don't know, the rear is just never there for me in the P2 Daytona. Oh, that's a cut. Oh my goodness.
So, okay, that's interesting that you say that. While the car setups might, the cars, especially the Audi, has always tended to feel a little bit loose. Especially high speed stuff, it's hard to get that out.
Yeah.
But the ideal car balance, ideal car setup is not loose, right?
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
want it to be working with us. We don't want to have to drive around it. So, something like the Skippy, whatever you get is what you get, because there's not
Yeah.
that much you can adjust. But a large part of the reason we have such detailed setup adjustments is to create that balance with the car without sacrificing any other pace.
Yeah. Just a quick note with that diff change, my T1 and that turnout in the straight, I could get the rear around on entry easier almost. I don't know, it could just be getting more used to the track and the car, but like T1 felt really good.
Okay. So on entry, you mean like off throttle?
Yeah. Like,
Huh.
so like, I don't know, to me, like at T1, I kind of like, it's in 5th gear and I lift a bit, hit the brakes a little bit to kind of rotate it. And then I find if I don't get back on throttle, the car is slow. Same here, like I have to get back on throttle and it makes the car stable again. I find this car is like, one, I don't want to coast through corners and I want to be on the brake or on the throttle on. Like set that balance of the car.
Mike's muted somehow. Does that strike you as an ideal balance?
It feels good, but I would still say, I don't know, I don't know, like kind of like you said earlier, just kind of how the Audi goes. But I've always felt it weird to drive a car where like you have to be on that brake or throttle. Like I can kind of understand why to keep like the weight in the rears or something, you know, like around some of these corners. But I've always disliked driving a car like that. And the reason I'm driving this car is because I picked it and I'm kind of stuck with it for the rest of the season because you can't change cars. I don't know. I would rather, you know, I would rather the car just be stable even if I was just like simply coasting through a corner.
Right.
But I also like I have like a pretty base level understanding of like why it wouldn't necessarily always be balanced like that. Why I might need to add some brake or throttle.
Sure. Well, just to give you a general guideline, the ideal balance I'm looking for in any race car is one where, you know, on the brakes, the car, again, I can push into the corner, and if I have the brake bias a little too far forward, the front will lock up first. If I have the brake bias a little too far to the rear will lock first, get me loose. But in general, like, if the brake bias is in the right place, the car's neither oversteering or understeering. Same thing for coasting, and same thing for on throttle. Like, if I hit the throttle too hard, it rotates.
Yeah.
But I should be able to get on it confidently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That corner's still light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm feeling that in other corners too, and you are too in fast corners.
Yeah. That's something I've always had a problem with, just with GT cars in general, is high speed stuff. I don't know. I've just driven like higher downforce stuff for a minute. Like, I'm used to like, oh, it has more grip at high speeds. And like these, I noticed these have more grip at high speeds too, but it's just like I have to like manage it differently. Like a high downforce stuff, I tend to have like a pretty sharp driving style.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed with GTs, I have to like smooth it out a lot more.
Yeah. I would say that's more a bad habit that's covered up in the Formula cars.
Yeah.
Rather than like a difference in ideal driving style. Certainly you can be more sharp in those cars, but to get the very most out of them, same as a GT car, you have to be smooth. That's what the GT cars teach you, and that's what lower class cars also teach you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like that's around I can just feel it a little bit like a little bit sliding a little bit more.
All right, let's put our heads down for a couple laps here. I want
Okay.
you to show me like 2 of the best laps you can possibly do.
Okay.
And he just instantly goes faster. So 2 big things I'm seeing here. Ren's car control, for the most part, I mean, there's this. In Maggots and Beckett's, he's not super confident. We'll discuss that. But for the most part, it's solid. It's there's maybe some polish we could do, but he's controlling the car at or above his current level. What's missing is some of the racing line decisions, and well, sometimes he just misses a mark and the whole thing falls apart. I'm not yet sure which to target first. Let's do one more hot lap here.
Okay. Oh man.
Whoa!
Yeah, see that's one of the turns where it's like, I don't know, the rear I just feel gets like loose. I guess it's just because, I mean, you're carrying so much speed in there, but like it just feel I'm trying to keep it flat all the way through there, you know, and I usually do, but I think I was taking too much of an aggressive line to stay to the inside,
Mm-hmm.
rather than kind of letting the car go a little bit wider.
Exactly.
So, because I could hear it in the tires on that too. I could hear it, like it was a lot, because like I was trying to hit the same line I took the last 2 laps, cut a little bit more close to the inside, but I already noticed that I went a little bit too fast through T1, or a little bit faster, and so I went further to the left. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna have as much like room to get the car turned.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to go for it, and I could like hear that I could hear the tires at the end, but I was like, it felt fine up until it didn't. So it
Yeah.
didn't sound fine, but it felt fine.
What's funny, I was just thinking to myself during that last lap, that's a really good way to describe your driving overall. Like, your car control, the way you're getting to the limit, pushing the limit, in some corners looks really solid. Until all of a sudden you miss a braking point or something happens with your braking,
Okay.
and the corner's totally thrown off. You're on the outside edge of the track, right?
Yeah. I've really
Um,
noticed that after the first front straight on the first flyer going in that left-hander, I went crazy wide, and then it screwed up like my complete entry to the next corner, which like then screwed up the exit out of that one. And I was like kind of able to get it back through, like back into the flow at Cops, but yeah, that threw off that whole section of the track.
hmm When you're actually in races, how you said you're typically pretty consistent. Do you find yourself like staying a little bit further away from the limit than on a quali lap, for example?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean like 100%. Like I'm actually like really slow in my league for single lap pace. Like usually like in practice sessions, like when everyone's there and everything, I'm like, oh, there's 20 in my class. I'm usually like P12 to P15. But it comes to race day, and I'm usually passing the leaders at like a second, like up to a second a lap. Like that was consistent in Imola, Daytona,
Hmm.
and in Spa. But they also like tend usually to make more mistakes. But my rate, like I usually have, I like a very different mentality when I go into like, okay, like let's hot lap versus like, okay, let's do like some like enduro practice like with my team or something. And I kind of like sit back, and I find myself like like I don't know, like consistent ways where I'm not really feeling like I'm like pushing like myself or the car like to its like maximum potential.
Mm-hmm.
First, per se, that way I have like a little bit of buffer in case I do lock up or go a little bit deep. Um, yeah, I definitely hold myself back on races, and I honestly wouldn't even say like I wouldn't. Holding myself back isn't the right phrase. I would just say I'm in a different mindset, and I know that like first to win the race, first you have to finish, and um, I don't know. It's funny. I literally saw that on like an iRacing tidbit thing like 3 years ago, and it's always stuck in my mind. Um, and it really changed my driving style because I had like a genuinely hard time getting in a rookie class because I would go into each lap like pushing. I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, like this is gonna be a flyer. Like let's look at that delta, and you know, coming out of every turn and look down at the delta, and I need to make that fast lap. And that's where my problem like stemmed from, like looking inside too much.
Sure.
Um, and then uh, yeah, I definitely have a different mindset when I'm doing like race laps versus um, like I don't know, hot laps, looking at the times.
Hmm.
And it definitely, this might sound dumb, might sound not, but I don't know, like I find myself, I can't like get myself fully into that mode unless I'm like actually in a race.
I don't want you
Like
in that mode. To be
okay,
clear,
okay,
I
yeah, yeah,
I
and,
think.
and I'm definitely not in it. I'm 1,000%, I'm 1,000% not in it because like when I'm looking at like, okay, let's go for some hot laps, I'm like, all right, I clicked my wheel over, looked at my fastest time already. I'm like, all right, let's try and beat that. And going,
Ah.
yeah. And so it's like, I can't help but like flash my delta, like flash down and look at my delta, on the straights or something. And so it's just like, all right, like you need to push harder. And it's like, I don't know, another icing tidbit that stick with me is like don't brake later, just concentrate harder. Or like, like it's in my mind, it's still like okay to go faster, brake later, throttle earlier. It's simple, right? It's like it's some of those kind of bad habits forcing them their way through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, definitely in a race, especially a 6 hour or 12 hour or 24 hour, I'm definitely in like a different mode. Like I won't
And that
fight
makes
cars
sense.
much, and like yeah,
Like
really
you're
anything over like 30 minutes, I kind of like chill out because I know I have like a little bit more time to like if I'm slow for like the first 5 minutes or something, I can like gather myself, find the grip, and then kind of go for it.
okay.
Um,
Well, I
yeah,
think so. Here's what's happening. Uh, everybody pushes, or maybe not pushes. Everybody holds themselves back to the level that they feel confident that a race-ending mistake won't happen. Right?
yeah,
That sounds like what
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
describing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
1000%. It's like even if I do lock up and I go into the gravel, I'm not gonna go like flying into the gravel, or into the wall or something.
right. So if we can limit, if we can figure out some of what's happening when you do make a mistake, when you do make a race-ending error, and dial that back so that like you can be confident any mistake you make won't be that bad because you'll catch it earlier, or it just won't get that hairy in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
That'll let you push your race pace safely.
Yeah.
I think it's there's no point to tell you, okay, go push now and go crash 15 times.
Yeah.
Uh, that doesn't help anybody because there's a reason you're holding back in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's attack that.
Okay.
You said you've mentioned lockups a couple times, and I've seen you blow corners, that sort of thing. What do you think is happening when you do that? Um, are
Um,
you do you tend to like miss your marker? Do you lose track of your marker? What?
I think that like at least with what I'm noticing, like specifically this car on this track, and I notice more with like ABS cars, is that like I don't tend to focus as much on like a straight braking line, and I start the turn in too early, and I still at the and I like I'll initiate the brakes, and then like start the turn in pretty soon after, and so I'll get like a wiggle of the rear of the car, and then I'll catch it and straighten up, and by then I'm like kind of off the line.
Right, and you've lost braking efficiency too because to catch it,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
To catch it, I'm going straight and letting off the brakes to try and like catch it, um, and I notice myself with like non-ABS cars is that um, I'll just hold a lockup. Like I've honestly gotten at least I would like to say I might have you watch some more Porsche laps to do some more coaching, but uh, I'd like to say I've started to like not do a lot of like just the massive lockups and go straight on. Unless like I'm really in like a quali situation, and I'm like really pushing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really haven't had one of those situations in my race in a long time, unless it's like a car breaks in front of me and like I can't stop in time or something, and I lock up. Um, what I find myself to do in like non-ABS cars is honestly kind of the same thing. Is I will have the brakes on a little bit too much when I'm starting my turn in, and I will hold like like if I'm holding a front lockup, I'll just kind of like have to like pulse the brakes and like losing braking efficiency, locking up,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way like to the apex or where like I feel comfortable with the speed of the car to like get it around the corner. And then, but if I lock a rear and the car wants to like kind of go around on me, I'll do kind of the same thing as like an ABS car and like straighten up, and then at that point you're kind of off the track, um,
Right.
definitely off the line. Um,
And that's partially setup dependent, like which one it'll be. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
let's take
absolutely.
that a step, like that's the chain of events, right? Let's go back a step in that chain.
Okay.
What's causing you to lock up, or to use other terms, what's causing you to go over the limit of the car in the first place? Um, is it going too fast into the corner? You mentioned turning in a little bit too early. Is that just turning the wheel absent-mindedly,
I
or is it more like
mm,
going a little bit too fast at that point and trying to still make the apex?
I think it's that option. I think I think like I'll be pushing and I'll go into a corner and I'll try and brake later. Um, and I'll still turn in at the same point, even though the car is going a lot faster because I obviously braked later.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at that point, I'm yeah, like I'm just carrying too much speed. I'm trying to make that apex still. Um, you know, um, and I think maybe I get like a little bit too, as well, like too kind of tunnel visioned, and I'm not really paying attention to my braking marker as much. I'm just like, oh, I want to go faster. Let's brake later, rather than realizing,
Mm,
okay, I should still use that braking marker, but I should focus on like car rotation and how I'm setting
yep.
it up corner versus like just brake later. Um, so I think that's like the root of the problem. And I will be complete. I totally found myself doing that here. Like the first flying lap we did after kind of like just going around for a few laps. That's why like I totally hit the brakes too late. I was like, I saw the 50. I was like, oh, I can do the 50. And I obviously didn't do the 50. And I'm usually doing like the 75,
Yep.
kind of in between there. And the second lap, it was better, and I actually thought I broke a little bit too early going that second lap. It's like, okay, I need to brake earlier. Um, but but definitely, I will, yeah, just that tunnel vision and like just the brake later mentality that I've wrongly put in my head, and
Mm-hmm.
like I can tell myself like don't focus on the brake later thing, but like I don't know, it's one of those things I kind of fall back on.
Don't think of
Uh,
the purple elephant.
what'd you say?
Don't think about the purple elephant.
Yeah, yeah,
What are you thinking
exactly.
about? Purple elephant.
Purple, yeah,
We have to replace the don't brake later, or we have to replace the habit of brake later
I,
equals faster.
I will say again, going back to the first lesson and just having just like even like just like the teeniest tiny ounce of an idea of what to look for on like an entry like that
Mm-hmm.
did help me start to kind of get away from that.
Cool.
Like I could find myself rather than braking later, like I literally like had like a realization moment in the race, and I was like, oh, I'm not focusing on just braking in a straight line later. I'm like trying to like I'm focusing on the rotation of the car into the corner more, and it's setting me up better for the complex of turns, or or just the one turn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I did notice that, um, but yeah,
Excellent.
but obviously it is still something that I fall back on.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's a mental pathway, right? That
yeah,
you've been
it's been
following
fired
for a
on.
while.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's going to take some time to get comfortable with something new. Uh, do you have something that you tell yourself specifically already?
I, no, I mean I don't really tell myself anything specifically. Um, I just like I don't know if I'm slow in like a quali lap or something, or I'm really pushing, like I'll look down my delta, which I think is the root of the issue.
That's part of it.
Uh,
It's really hard to
um,
get away
yeah,
from that.
I like that's why like when I can find a car that has a dash page that doesn't get the delta, I don't use it. I turn it off because um, it ends up making me make more mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like sometimes I'll get into a race and my delta will just be completely off, like it's just completely fucked. Bleep, but it's completely screwed.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. And that at that point, I'll stop paying attention to it, and I can find myself making less mistakes there. Because if my delta is based off like an unbeatable lap time, then I'm not going to look at it. Or like, oh, actually, this would be a good example. I just thought about this. Doing like the Rolex at like Daytona, or like any like low downforce track like that, like Daytona with a draft is crazy important. I'll set some race lap in the draft that's like 6 to 8 tenths faster than anything I could get in clean air, because obviously I have the draft.
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll push in the corners to try and make up that time.
Oh
And
no.
definitely end up making mistakes there. 1000%. That's definitely something I do, and I'll totally own up to it. That is definitely something that I will do. Um, and I'm still holding myself back and not making like race ending errors, but I'm definitely making a lot of time loss errors. Um, just going a little bit deep, or I'm trying different lines that like I've tried before and they obviously just aren't the fastest line, and I'm just thinking something in my head like, oh, maybe this will be faster.
Hmm.
Just like trying something different, like 18 hours into like a 24-hour race. I'm like, maybe if I just try this, like a little delusional. Um, but
Well, I mean, we can try stuff
yeah,
while still removing the risk of error. Like we can try stuff in a controlled way.
okay, yeah,
But yeah, we'll get there. The big thing right now, everything you're describing is just doing things that don't work to try and go faster.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely what I do.
We discussed when we last met that the fastest way through the corner is the way that you're on the limit of grip the whole time, right?
Yeah,
On the limit
yeah,
of grip
yeah.
with the front and the rear.
Hmm.
Um, in addition to that, when you're driving, you have to be hitting your apex, right? Just super simple, not going to get too into it. You have to hit your apex. If you don't hit
Yeah,
your apex, it's going to be slower.
yeah, okay.
And we'll talk more in depth about that another time, but it's not the most important thing right now. As long as, I mean, it doesn't matter what car you're driving, what track you're at, those two things are constant. You have to hit
Yeah,
apexes, and ideal corner is on the limit rotation without oversteer, without understeer.
yeah,
So when you want to go faster, when you want to push a limit, when you want to, try and find more pace, you're not going to find it in just surface level braking marker
yeah, okay,
or
yeah,
um, like hitting a different spot on track unless you have a good reason to do so. But just, randomly trying different things.
yeah, yeah. Doesn't really.
Right.
It's never yielded me a better result. Like maybe I'll see like in a race or something that like someone else is taking a different line, and it's quicker, and like I'll try it, and like that's gotten me some pace before. Like just simply observing people who are faster than me and
Hmm.
try changing it up mid race, but yeah, just me being in a just driving kind of alone and then just switching it up, that's never done anything for me. And I've kind of stopped doing that and like stuck like try to stick to like what I know in the race, and like I don't know, or like what I've practiced and what I've seen gets me pace. um
Sure.
but but yeah,
So what you'll find, actually, and I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, as you anchor yourself um, more to the car's balance and keeping the tires on their limit,
yeah,
the racing line stuff will become a lot clearer. And I mean, decision making in that regard will become way easier than you're making it out for yourself right now. And, well, just way easier than it is for you right now. Because it becomes very clear, like, if you're taking a certain line and you're rotating on the limit on the brakes, and then you get to your apex, you get on throttle, now you're no longer on the limit on throttle. Well, okay, that's a pretty good sign you've taken a late apex, right? That's not on the limit the
yeah,
whole time.
yeah,
Um, Same thing, like if you're braking, rotating on the limit, and uh, you have to brake past your apex, then that's an early apex. So if we can make everything centered around playing on the limit, uh, uh, just centered around the rotation of the car, more efficient rotation is always faster.
yeah, okay,
So if you you know, if you want to push for pace, let's push that, and then the pace
Okay.
will come.
Yeah, just push. Yeah, I mean, just like you were talking about in the first lesson too, just
Mm-hmm.
like driving it the most efficiently. So rather than, and it makes sense, like, talking now and connecting it to is like, if you want to go faster, then now it becomes drive more efficiently. You don't just brake later. You don't just, try and get on the throttle earlier, then you have to back off of it because you got on the throttle too early.
Right.
Um, yeah, that definitely, yeah, okay.
But all right,
Wait,
let's
wait,
drive.
let's do it. Let me put my VR headset on. I don't want to hear you for a second.
Sure.
All right. Oh, whoops! I just elbowed my mic. Okay. All right. Gloves on. I had to get gloves, not because I really wanted gloves, but because my Alcantara, my wheel got so nasty after not using gloves. It's like, okay,
Oh yeah.
it's like I have to, and I cleaned it, and it was like so nice afterwards. I was like, okay, I have to get gloves just for this.
Hey, at least you could clean yours. My when I realized how nasty mine was getting, it was so far gone that like I tried to clean it and it just like the fabric didn't come back.
Oh man, like
Yeah.
I saw it on my buddy's wheel before like I got Fanatec, and I was like, that's really bad. And then I started to notice mine like getting there because it came
Uh-huh.
like glossy and like kind of caked, and I was like, oh, I can't let it get there. And
Yeah.
yeah, I ordered some Alcantara. Okay, all right.
Since then, I've been a like gloves only.
Oh yeah, no, if you get on my rig, you gotta wear gloves. Like
Yep.
yeah, like I have buddies come over, like put on his gloves.
Yep. 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 All right. Same deal after you.
All right.
All right. You said these tires take about one full lap to warm up.
Yeah, yeah. The second lap is one of the fastest.
Okay. So yeah, we'll use this next lap to keep getting into a rhythm and then start pushing.
Okay. I wasn't intentional like gears there. I was in third, not second. There we go.
I'm getting the impression that your braking point into the last hairpin isn't super well defined.
Yeah, that's
Just
that's pretty. Yeah, that's true.
pay attention to it this lap.
Okay.
All right, now we're pushing, trying to find time.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh, it was good up until then.
Yeah, I was focusing on that rotation, and it's funny that time the same area as me trying to brake later, but I was actually trying to brake later so I could keep more rotation in with the brakes in there because I felt like I needed more.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, that seems productive. What did you learn from
Yeah.
it?
Now now I know not to brake the 50 anymore.
Sure, but based on like related to what you're testing out, which you wanted to get more rotation on the brakes.
Yeah, I think it was too much rotation.
Sure. So like your rotation level before was reasonably close. Like maybe there's a tiny bit more, but
Yeah, not that much more.
yeah.
Well, for sure.
I like what you did there. Still not optimal, but
That was off my that was definitely off my normal line. I went a little bit too deep into the first part.
yeah. But your normal line is pretty clearly a bit weak there, from my perspective.
Okay.
So remember, just trying to stay on the limit more.
Yeah.
Let me lead for a couple laps.
Yeah.
Car on your left. Clear on the left.
So again, still pushing, still trying to find more.
Okay.
You're doing great, man.
Yeah, I can see like the little differences in your line into Beckett or whatever it's called, Maggot Beckett's.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, like, I wasn't driving World Championship pace or anything, but I was going full tilt.
Okay.
You You held on pretty well there.
I tried.
But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and sorry if I missed a few things you say. I adjusted some audio settings while I was taking my water break, and I think I made you a little bit too quiet on accident.
Okay, no worries. Are you on the limit the whole time through there?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Do you feel like you're on the limit the whole time through Maggots and Beckett's?
I feel like in between the turns, I can be more on the limit.
Uh-huh. Let's
I
change
feel
the
like-
setup.
What'd
Go
you
on.
say?
I want to make a setup tweak, but keep going.
Okay. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna stop and adjust the volume.
Yeah,
So I
perfect.
can actually hear what you're saying. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I feel like like after I kind of like hit the brakes a little bit for each twist in that complex, I feel like I get back on the throttle to kind of the car feels more stable to me. It's also it's also fast than just coasting. But I feel as if I could maybe add more throttle or maybe be in the throttle for a bit longer into each turn.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I mean that in a sense to keep car balance, not necessarily as a way of more throttle
Good.
equals faster. Because I feel like I could add to the rear stability into each bend with a little bit more throttle.
Okay. What about carrying a bit more speed in? Do you think you're already on the limit there?
I think I could definitely carry more speed in. Um, to me, I mean, to me, so I was like, I was using my line earlier when you were following me, and
Mhm.
that's a very weird line. I've never like never like watched a track guide or like watched others and how to like properly take that. But
Good, that's fine.
after taking your line, I definitely feel I could take more into it because you're going wider left before you come in right.
Mm. Okay.
Like right there was a bit too much throttle, and the rear wanted to come out a little bit more than I was used to.
Yeah, so that's actually why I'm making the setup adjustment, because everywhere
Right.
else I think the oversteer feels manageable. In Maggots and Beck, it's awful, man. I can't push. Um,
Like I feel like I can push the car's ability, but I do agree. I think that there definitely is setup change to make it like use the car better. I guess would be the best way to say
yeah.
it.
Well, we want to be able to use the fronts and the rears, right? Right now, I feel like I can't use the fronts.
Agreed. Agreed. Feels very rear limited.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a preference between stiffening the front roll bar or lowering the rake?
I don't care either way. Whatever. I mean, whatever you. I'll take your suggestion on whatever
I'm
you do.
50-50 on what we should do. So
Um.
I shared lower rake,
Cool.
and
All right.
I changed a couple other things. We'll
Cool.
feel it out. Oh, you will definitely want to get the assists back to where you like them.
Okay. What did you have them on?
Off.
Well, that'll do it.
I find it really good practice, honestly, and it's not as hard as you might think it is.
To
The only
me,
place where I found it like really tough was the last braking zone.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. TC off, ABS off. That's funny. Um, yeah, it's funny because actually I had the TC up too high. I actually just realized it was on 4. I usually use 2. Um,
I
yeah.
don't think it's doing much at 4 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's like always my buddies and I like after like we practice, we'll just fuck around for a little while and we'll turn the assists off, and I find that like I can't feel the Audi's brakes as well as like I don't know like as other cars. Um, but I noticed that, and I noticed that it could also be hurting me, even with ABS on. So I did like 25, 30 laps at like Monza with the ABS off,
Oh, nice.
and got it to be a little bit better. And it definitely helped me figuring out this car. And
Cold tires.
yep.
Let's go
Cold.
ahead and reset. That's gonna mess with the traction.
Okay, yeah. All right, outlap mode. But I've started to take different GT3s out before I race them and like feel them with no ABS on.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I find it hard to feel the limit with ABS.
Yeah.
But once I feel it without ABS, I kind of have a lot better idea of
What it
like,
should
where
be
I should
doing.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least like some kind of like muscle memory for how I felt.
Good. No, that's a really good approach. When I was doing a GT4 league,
Oh man, the GT4s. I hate those cars.
yeah. Well, same deal with ABS and traction control, right? Just makes it harder to feel.
They feel like mush.
Yeah. So I would actually do all of my practice with them off, except for
Okay.
like the last, I don't know, 10%,
Yeah.
to dial in. And that led to consistently better results than.
Man, I still feel the rear. I don't know. I guess I'm also on the outlap, but
You're using the same braking points you always do?
Yeah, I'm using yeah.
Hmm.
Let's I'll go around and let them warm up, or I guess cool off after that slide, but
Yeah, cool off the surfaces, warm up the carcass.
Marcos, yeah. I felt like a racing god after I learned about carcass and surface temps. F1 2019 or 2018.
Nice.
Oh, there's different temperatures. And they
Do you
different
know
things.
how iRacing shows them?
I do not.
So surface temps are in data, and you can see those like in real time, or not in real time, but in data. You know what I mean?
In the pit stop, like in the black box.
No, no,
Oh.
that's exactly what I'm saying. Those are the carcass temps.
Okay. Because yeah, I've noticed like when I drive the P2, I can look at the tire temp on there, and it's going all over the place. Because yeah, I assume that they were surface temps, but I did not know that the ones in the black box were carcass temps. The more you know.
Yeah.
Okay, it definitely felt like I had more grip out of there on power.
Okay.
I almost didn't expect it.
Yeah, here feels
definitely.
balanced too.
Yeah. I definitely have like a tad more understeer, but I guess that just comes from adding more to the rear.
Well, yeah, we'll see how it feels when the tires warm up. It may be a little too understeer, and we can tweak something else. Ah, I see what you're doing. So, I know we talked about braking in a straight line the other day.
Yeah.
In complex sections, and really anywhere that isn't like a clear heavy braking zone, that does start to get a little murky. So
Yeah.
it looks like you're braking in a straight line when you're braking in Maggots and Beckett's.
I'm trying to straighten up the car a bit, yeah.
So what if instead of slowing down in a straight line and then turning and then slowing down in a straight line and then turning, what if we just use the brakes to help us turn and slow down in the process?
Yeah. Oh, that's a killer.
Can you bump drift in these cars?
I've
Find
never
out.
tried it. That's it. Yeah. Little 0x.
Not too bad.
Never hurt nobody.
Yeah. With warmer fronts, it can get loose there.
Yeah, it feels nice. That felt a lot better.
That was a lot better.
Ah, it's such a habit. I do see what you mean though. Like I don't have to make like three. I don't have to make like a power on out of each little kink and then straighten up and brake and then turn in. I can just blend them kind of together.
Yeah. Blend them. That's a good way to describe it. Do you find yourself getting to a coast in the middle of a lot of these corners?
I've tried not to with this car, and like the few like YouTube coaching videos I've seen, like I've tried to eliminate coasting just because it's just free time, kind of.
That's stupid.
But,
That's meaningless. You can't connect that to feeling.
Okay. Like I said, YouTube coaching, you know, random ass coaching videos. So who knows
Yeah.
what's on. One of the guys coaching, I was setting faster lap times in, so I don't know why even someone who's slower can give advice, but I mean, it seems like, yeah. I mean, I find myself coasting and definitely that long right-hander.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of times, like, I guess I do coast quite a bit, but like I have like just like the tiniest bit of throttle in.
Okay.
As just to like, I don't know, to me, it seems to make this car just be a little bit more stable in the rear.
Oh yeah, it does
Um,
make it more stable.
I definitely.
Is
I
that
definitely,
what we want?
That's okay. That's true. Like through there, like I coasted more this time. Definitely rotated more, but I don't think that's one of the turns I did more rotation through.
What was that last part again?
So I don't think that's one of the turns where like I'm struggling for rotation through.
No, I'd agree. There's maybe a little under a tenth in there if you polish it, but maybe less even. But yeah, especially in like these corners and the right-hander in particular.
I feel like if I coast, I almost lose like too much speed.
What makes it too much speed?
Well, I guess the car wants to turn a lot more, and then like if I have the same kind of steering lock in there, the car wants to turn more.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel like I can like add some more throttle in there while still staying on the same line that I'm like attempting to take to the corner.
But why wouldn't we want to turn more? I mean, we want to slow down in a straight line, like for as long as we're in a straight line, and then we want to turn as efficiently as we can so that we can get back to the throttle stuff, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we can.
Okay.
So what's wrong with the car slowing down a little more and, you know, getting down to the inside of the track earlier, potentially enabling you to get on throttle earlier?
Yeah, see, through that turn, coasting some more and letting the car turn more just gave me like half a tank out of it.
Okay, nice.
I think I was referring to like a very specific part on the track. I don't know, like I'll point it out this time when we go through.
Woo! Good save, good save.
Oh, that's a little
Okay.
too much.
Yep.
That's a little bit great. Yeah, but the portion I was kind of talking about is this next complex up here.
Yep.
Like the left-hander and the right-hander. I feel like if I keep that same steering angle in and coast like a little bit too much, I kind of go too far left, like more than I would like to set up for the right-hander.
But we want to hit our apex.
Yeah, so like I'll coast right here and like I feel like I have plenty of, like enough turning there I can add more throttle and still come out here and set up properly for this one.
Oh, you're thinking about staying to the left further than I am. Okay.
Yeah, which that was like I understand your point in like other corners, but like in my mind, like
Okay.
especially that one,
Yeah.
like this one, I totally like that's the one I applied it to right after we talked about it because like I could get on that power a lot sooner after just letting it coast and rotate some more.
Okay. So let's focus on the second corner of those two, the left right.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, could we be
I
coasting or
definitely coast through there.
what about applying a little bit of brake? Have you experimented with that? See if that helps rotate the car even better.
I've messed with it a bit, but I find myself having to like I find myself I don't know, I haven't found like the sweet spot for it yet. I'll mess with it I'll mess with it some more.
Yeah, let's do it.
I centered that curve in practice, and it was the scariest thing ever.
All of these curves are really deadly.
Yeah. I'm definitely coasting through there to get up some rotation. Now that you mentioned it, I'm looking for it.
Okay. Yeah, and just in general, applying throttle in the mid corner, just don't do it.
Okay.
There's better ways.
Oh,
Ooh, a little loose.
yeah. I don't even think that was really honestly that loose. I think that was me more just overreacting.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't the full speed there, but definitely hitting the brakes like it brought that nose in there.
Uh-huh.
The point I struggle with on that is like when to like use that brake and then when to use the throttle, because I find if I get back on the throttle too early, the front will start to understeer, and then I won't be able to like really like hold that throttle all the way off on that curve.
Right.
It's more just like a timing thing.
All right, let's pull off and talk about that a bit.
Okay.
Man, you catch on pretty quick. I was expecting to keep this until next time we met, but okay. So you can keep the car on the limit and keep it rotating well, and still struggle to figure out when to get the timing right, just like you're
Yeah.
describing. So the setup, the corner feels awkward, kind of no matter how you take it.
That's
Don't know.
that's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me is like sometimes I'll like miraculously get it right, and I'm like, yo, that's sick. Like I kind of have an idea of I know what to do, but then the problem comes to me is like I'll enter it a little bit differently than the time before,
Mm.
and then it's like, oh, now I don't know what to adjust to like I don't like really understand the timing. I just keep hitting it by like chance, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and entering it a little bit differently than before is certainly enough to screw up the timing.
Yeah.
And ideally, like, as we move forward, you'll get to the point where you'll still enter differently every time, but within a tight enough window that the adjustments are fine
Yeah.
enough and still works.
Taking your line to that turn definitely made me like see it as like a more definite like entry. I don't know. I used to like before when you were following me, like you probably saw this. Like I was going like way more to the left
Mm-hmm.
and then sweeping back in, versus like at least as I'm describing what I think I saw with you was like you'd go over to the right edge of that track, and like kind of hit the brakes, and you'd go wide a little bit there, and then come back on and like hit like a later apex all the way out on that all the way out onto that curb, but you wouldn't like go crazy far left on entry. You'd more let that come like I don't know, I guess kind of mid turn, like early mid turn, rather than like setting up before the turn way far left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just getting the timing of like, because I feel like if I like once I initiate that braking, the second I have to like come back off of that and like add throttle to help rotate, because I need more speed for like the brakes to really like help rotate it, that's when the whole turn's done.
Yep.
That's when it's screwed.
Yep.
I feel the turn needs to get down to a point where I need to like come in on brake, and when I'm off the brake, I'm off the brake. I'm not gonna touch it anymore.
And then you're
And then
confidently
stall.
applying throttle and exiting the corner. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Yeah,
just described it.
and that's where that's for me. That's like it's like I kind of know, like I have an idea of like what it needs to be like that, like just the brake and then the gas, and not like so much pedaling the car through there, I guess the best way to say it. But like
Mhm.
I don't. It's something it's not particular to this track either. Like it's particular to that kind of turn. Like if you take like road and like I guess another good example would be Road America. Like the carousel in there
Yeah.
um, is like is like that's another part that's hard for me to like find that ideal line. Um, and because I can't like find that or like at least know what is like ideal or fastest. I don't exactly know what to aim for each time, so I end up coming out of it or into it differently kind of each time. Um, yeah,
Carousel's
so
a bitch.
yeah.
This one, believe it or not, even though it's a complex session,
Mhm.
it's easier to maximize because you just described it. We want to be on the brakes until we're on throttle and exiting the corner.
Yeah.
The way you're doing it is not allowing you to do that, right? I mean, you're getting on throttle to stabilize the car, and that has a secondary uh, consequence of making the overall corner arc wider.
Yeah.
And like instead of you're no longer getting maximum rotation out of the car.
Yeah. I feel like this could be like part of the reason for me like personally is like I've noticed myself the one thing I do that does happen consistently is I will always hit the brakes too early in there. Is I'll hit it too early and then I'll always find myself like pedaling the car
Mm-hmm.
um, or just sitting there and waiting a long time on the coast and then getting on throttle finally rather than I think I could carry a bit more speed into it and then um, I guess brake a little bit later to keep that like to make that rotation happen later in the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so because I feel like I'm going into that turn and in my mind it's like, oh, it's a tight like almost carousel type turn. I need to like slow down to like really stay on the inside of this. And so I hit the brakes a little bit too early, I think. Um, I feel like if I just take it and like shift my braking like I'm not sure exactly how much longer, how much later, like maybe like I think it might be like a small difference because I feel like I'm kind of getting there. Like maybe like 10, maximum like 20 meters, maybe like more on throttle, and then just brake like then to rotate the car. I
Yep.
guess kind of further out and setting up for that, pointing the car in for that later apex kind of. Um,
Precisely.
yeah, I just feel like that's
So,
yeah,
you're not in the car right now, are you?
no,
Damn. Okay, session's over. I do have to call it. I've got to do some testing before I go to
yeah,
bed.
yeah,
But
no,
write that
I'm
down.
not
Like what you just said
okay,
about
okay,
the. Like,
yeah,
write that down and practice it for the race tomorrow. Okay.
yeah, tomorrow. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow. I'll have quite a few hours of practice. There's usually an hour-long practice session before the race goes up, and then my buddy and I usually put a 2-hour one up before that.
Okay.
So, because we know the track conditions the day of, um, and we get the track conditions to make it like a little bit worse. Um, but yeah, okay, yeah, I'll write that down on my on like a notes tab on the computer.
Yeah. Perfect. Because like you just described exactly the next step you need to take from like the line you're taking. Why does it feel awkward? What's wrong with it? That's the next step to solving it. Like first, again, it all goes back to anchoring your decisions around keeping the car rotating on the limit through the corner as much as possible so that you can get on throttle as early and confidently as possible while
Yeah,
still keeping it on its limit. That's the whole game.
yeah,
Yeah, that's big picture. That's all we're doing here. Then the
yeah,
rest is just how to
yeah,
achieve that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's really simple, honestly. You just brake later and then rotate the car more and then get on the throttle earlier, right?
And you're world champion. Easy.
Yeah, and done. You've won. Yeah, you become Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. My mom, she she used to do like SCCA stuff or whatever, but should always check on some of my racing stuff. She'd be like, "You just go faster. It's simple." She knows my secret. Yeah, that's kind of funny, but yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, I don't want to make you stay up too late after doing your testing and stuff. So
No,
um,
it's fine, man. My sleep
but
schedule is
mine's always free
destroyed.
anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on Apex Legends for a while probably. So
All right, man. Um, wow, we ran pretty late.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we did 2 whole 2 hour sessions.
That's good, man. Yeah, I wish I could do all my coaching like this. Um, like I not having to think about time, just we keep going until it's no longer useful. Um,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
lets
Or
me
like
get
it's
into
like an endpoint, kind of like a realization or almost something.
yeah. Yeah, I would have liked one more short run to finish that session off, but oh well.
Yeah,
I think you've got the general idea.
yeah. I'll go back in the recording and I'll write down what I said because I don't want to like misinterpret it. So
Perfect.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Good luck in your race. And
Thank you.
if you still struggle with that corner
Yeah.
after applying this, shoot me
Uh-huh.
a message. We'll try and figure it out. That's your
Cool.
your weakest corner, I think. Your
Yeah,
weakest section.
I would agree.
That and
Could you
Maggers and Beckett's.
could you shoot me that setup?
Oh shit.
Oh, if you didn't save it, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
You should still have it, right?
Oh yeah, it's loaded on the car. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
It's all good.
All right. Yeah, well, yeah, that setup definitely felt a lot more stable. I think my teammate will appreciate that a lot more. Because I could deal with it, but he just couldn't deal with it. He was like, he's in the class above me, but he was like 3 seconds off pace from me, and I was like, that's not normal. Usually,
Oh
it's like
no.
yeah, usually he's like we're like at the same level, or he's like a little bit quicker. But yeah, he'll like that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean it should be just faster overall. So
Yeah, absolutely. It felt way better through the high speed stuff.
cool.
So, thank you for that.
All right, man. Keep me posted. Let me know how it goes, and
Yeah.
we'll.
When's your next Porsche Cup race?
Porsche's on Saturday, but we've got the Formula stuff on Thursday.
All right, I'm gonna come watch it. I haven't watched like
Thanks.
a Pro Level IRL1 thing yet, and I want to see it because I've never seen those cars like driven like to the limit, and man, they are crazy. What track
Yeah.
is it at?
Interlagos.
Oh, hell yeah. That's
Yeah,
a cool,
good Formula car track.
yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely come watch that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Porsche Cup was just crazy seeing how ever close everyone was. So
Yeah, well, that's how it is at the top level, but
That's
unfortunately, a lot of this field has not figured out how to race in a field where everybody's super close yet. But we'll get there.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get there. One day, I hope A class will be there. I hope A class BDS will be there.
Yeah.
All right, well,
right.
good luck on your races, and I guess I'll see you like Saturday sometime.
Thanks.
And I'm free to start just whenever, so just shoot me a message. I don't care if it's late, whenever. Just let me know.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll shoot for Saturday. I'll let you know if my situation changes, but it
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah. Any weekend day. I mean, any day really late works. Like the fact that we started this late, it makes me. I could do it any day. So yeah.
Cool.
All
right, man.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Yeah.
That was a good session. I don't think we had any like mind-blowing major breakthroughs like yesterday with Jesse, but I do think this was, we're iterating, and we're iterating in a way that's making pretty significant progress every time. If we can keep up this level of movement through each session, and these are close together. I mean, Rand only had 2.5 days to practice since the last one, so I think I might have to temper my expectations a little bit because he's learning really quickly. I'm just expecting a ton of track time in between sessions that Well, that's not really possible. But yeah, again, Rand's learning super quickly. Really happy with his progress, and I think, well, the future's bright.